This video is for the Chapter 5 End Test Review for Math 7. We are going to cover sections 5.4 and 5.5. 5.4 being writing and solving proportions, and 5.5 being slope. So let's go ahead into it. Our first slide says to solve the proportions. We've got two proportions here. There are a couple ways you guys can solve these. As long as you're ending up with that same correct answer, the way you get there is okay with me. Doesn't matter which one you guys choose. You can do cross products or you can use multiplication. So here, to get from 7 to 42, we multiply by 6. We have to do the same thing here. So we have to think of what number multiplied by 6 gives us 48. So here n equals 8. Our second one, same idea. If we didn't see that pattern like we saw before multiplying, we could always do cross products. So x times 16 is 16x equaling 80. And then from there, you'd solve for your x. So we would divide by 16 because we want x to be by itself. When we divide 80 by 16, we get our answer of 5. Now we could have gone back and said, okay, well, to get from 2 to 16, we multiply by 8. So we have to do the same thing here. What number times 8 gives us 40? It would still give us 5. So again, remember the way you get to your answer, there's not one specific method you have to use. As long as you end up with the correct answer, you should be fine. So our next slide goes over a word problem. It says it costs $95 for 20 students to visit an aquarium. So that's some important information. I'm going to box and underline. How much does it cost for 162 students? So here we need to write and solve it. So we're not just writing, we're actually solving here. So I'm going to put money in my numerator, $95 for 20 students. And remember, a proportion has an equal sign in between. So we need that equal sign. Our second proportion, we're trying to find out how much here. So it's an unknown amount of money. We're going to put a variable there. And we know it's 162 students. So again, here, the method that you use to solve can vary. If you want to pause this video now, try it on your own, and then rewatch the video to see if you get the correct answer, that's great. So I'm going to go ahead and have you pause this, solve the problem, and then restart this video when you're ready to check. So for this one, I'm going to actually use cross products here. So I have x multiplied by 20 gives me 20x. I'm going to bring down that equal sign, and then I need to do 95 multiplied by 162, and I get a pretty big number. I get 15,390, huge amount there. But now we need to solve for our x, so we're going to divide both sides by 20 in order to get our x alone. And here you actually get a decimal, but you get 769, 769.5. And then here, since we're talking about money, we need two decimal places. So the answer is $769.50. So it costs just under $100 for 20 students. So if we think about it, it makes sense that 162 students cost almost $800. Our next problems are going to be talking about slope. So here it says find the slope of the line. So the big thing we need to remember here is it's rise over run. That's a really big piece we need to know. We're going to go from one point to our second point. So here we're looking how much should we move on the y-axis? We go up 2. And then our run, moving on the x-axis, we move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here our slope is 2/5. We go up 2 over 5. We're going to go ahead on to our second one. Same type of problem, find the slope. So again, from one point to the next. Now here we need to realize that on our y-axis, we're counting by 2s. So our y here is a 5. So it's like right in between those. We move up 1, and then a full movement is 3. So rise over run. Our rise is 3. Our x-axis goes by 1, so we don't have to worry about that. So we move on our x-axis 1. So our answer is just 3 is our slope. Now our next two problems, we actually have to label our graphs, which is not a big deal. We actually have some meaning to our numbers, so we know that X is hours, Y is miles. So we need to graph first, then find, interpret the slope. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this video. I want you guys to draw your graph, make sure you label everything, and then restart the video when you're ready to walk through the problem with me. So I went by 1s on my x-axis, and I actually went by 5s on my y-axis. I just labeled every other. So I need to plot my points here. I've got 2, 10, 4, 20, 6, 30, and 8, 40. So I've got my 4 points right there. Now I need to find the slope. So I need to go from one point to the next. Now I know there are multiple points, but I'm just going to go from my first point to my second point. So I'm going up 5, 10. Again, this is rise over run. So I go up 10. So my rise is 10. My run is 1, 2. So when I simplify that, we get 5. So my slope is 5. Now we need to make sure we interpret that, meaning go back to what X and Y stand for. So rise is my Y. So if it's 5 over 1, this means 5 miles, since that's my Y, in 1 hour, since that's my X. So interpreting it is basically labeling your numbers. 5 miles in 1 hour. So our last problem is the exact same thing, same process, except we've got packages and servings. There are two different things there, packages and servings. Again, I'm going to go ahead and pause this video, label my X and Y axis. I want you guys to do the same. So pause the video until you've gotten your graph labeled, and then watch the video with me to make sure that you've got the right answer. So here I've chosen to go by 2s, count by 2s on my x-axis, and by 3s on my y-axis, just based on the information I was given on this table. So I'm going to plot my 4 points again, just like I did on the last problem. I've got 6, 9. I've got 10, 15, 14, 21, and 18, 27. So I got those 4 points there. Again, we need to find the slope, and slope is rise over run. So when I move up from my first point to my second point, I go up 2 units, but I'm going by 3, so that's actually a 6. And then I move over 2 units, which is actually going by 4. So I need to simplify that. I'm going to divide by 2, and I get 3 halves. So my slope is 3 over 2. Now I need to interpret that. So again, rise is my y, run is my x. So here, this 3 stands for 3 servings in 2 packages. So that's interpreting. Basically, numbering or labeling your numbers, really making sense of what the slope means. 3 over 2 what? 3 servings in 2 packages. So that concludes our video going over writing and solving proportions and slope. Rewatch any section you need to. Make sure you look over graded homework as well as notes from class, and good luck studying.